Okay, let's be totally honest here, because we've literally all been there. You stand up, walk purposefully into another room, and the exact second you cross the threshold, boom, your brain just completely wipes itself clean.
You're just standing there, looking around, totally frustrated, thinking, why on earth did I come in here? It is such a deeply relatable, universally infuriating human experience. But hey, in this explainer, we're going to look at exactly why that happens, and way more importantly, how to actually fix it. Because honestly, it gets worse than just forgetting why you walked into the kitchen, right? Think about this nightmare scenario. You stay up all night, cramming for a massive exam or a huge presentation. You feel like you know the material inside and out. But the absolute second you sit down in that chair, under pressure, you just freeze. Your mind goes completely blank. It feels like a total betrayal by your own brain. Well, consider this your much-needed tactical intervention.
So here's our first major aha moment, and it actually comes from way back in 1885. A psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something he called the forgetting curve. And this psychological formula proves something absolutely crucial. Your brain isn't broken. Seriously, it's not. It is actually biologically designed to dump unused data. If you learn something brand new right now, you're going to lose up to 70% of that information within just 24 hours if you don't do anything with it. Your brain is basically just trying to be super efficient by hitting delete on what it thinks is useless.
Okay, we really need to shift the narrative here, because this changes absolutely everything. Let's officially debunk the myth of, I just have a bad memory. You know those world memory champions? The folks who memorize entire books in a few hours? They do not have some magical genetic advantage. There are no supercomputers hidden in their heads. The reality? They simply use the right systems to trick their brains into holding on to data. It's that simple. Memory isn't a genetic lottery, you guys. It's literally just a strategy.
So the big question is, how do we actually beat that forgetting curve? Well, enter our first technique, the spaced repetition protocol. If you cram all your studying into one single night, it just sits in your short-term memory and vanishes by morning. But if you follow a spaced schedule, like reviewing data after 24 hours, then again in 3 days, then a week, and then a month, you stop the forgetting curve dead in its tracks. You are literally signaling to your brain, hey, I keep seeing this, so it must be important. Move it over to long-term storage.
Right, moving on to technique number 2, the memory palace, or as the scientists call it, the method of loci.
See, our brains are notoriously terrible at remembering abstract facts, like random words or numbers. But our spatial memory, like the layout of our own home, is nearly permanent. The memory palace taps right into that superpower. Let me walk you through just how absurdly effective this is. Okay, let's say you need to memorize a simple grocery list: eggs, milk, and bread. Don't just repeat the words. Instead, I want you to literally imagine walking up to your own front door. You open it, and sitting right there on your couch is a giant 6-foot-tall egg. It's ridiculous, right? Next, imagine a literal river of milk flowing down your hallway and a massive loaf of bread just smashed right onto your TV screen. The rule here is simple. The more bizarre, strange, and exaggerated the image, the harder it is for your brain to forget it. Seriously, next time you go to the store, just take a mental walk through your house.
Moving on to our third technique, active recall, which brings us to the famous Feynman technique. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman had this totally brilliant philosophy. My advice to you, based on his work, is this. Whenever you're trying to learn a super complex psychology theory or a tough technical concept, pretend you have to explain it to a 12-year-old child using simple, everyday language. When you try to do that out loud, you will instantly stumble and find the logic gaps in your own understanding. And that, my friends, is exactly where you know you need to go back to the book.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're like, wait, why isn't just rereading my highlighted notes enough? Well, here's the harsh truth. Highlighting and rereading is passive learning. It just creates a false sense of security. You look at the page and think, oh yeah, I know this. But research actually shows that the testing effect, which means closing the book, testing yourself, and explaining it aloud, yields 50% better retention. Reading is definitely not remembering, folks.
All right, our fourth strategy is the chunking method, bypassing short-term memory limits.
This method tackles a massive biological bottleneck we all have. The average human working memory has a very strict capacity limit. We can honestly only juggle about 4 to 7 distinct pieces of information at any given time. Try to swallow an entire mountain of data at once, and your brain just flat out rejects it. To prove it, just look at this overwhelming 12-digit number. If I told you to memorize this right now, I know exactly what you'd say. You'd push back and go, hold on, there is absolutely no way anyone can actually memorize this random string of numbers under the stress of an exam without writing it down. And you know what? You'd be totally right. It looks completely impossible.
But watch this little trick. What if we simply add a few lines? 1947, 1965, 1992, 2001.
boom! Suddenly, this massive, intimidating string is broken down into 4 distinct, recognizable historical dates. By breaking large data into smaller, meaningful chunks, we completely bypass that 4 to 7 item limit. I mean, this is exactly why phone numbers and credit cards are broken up by dashes. Chunking makes the impossible incredibly simple.
Okay, technique number 5 is the story method, linking facts through emotion and visuals.
Now, we all know basic acronyms to remember the colors of the rainbow and stuff, but we can go so much deeper than that using something called the von Rusdorf effect. Basically, our brains are hardwired to prioritize strange, emotional stories over dry facts. We forget bullet points all the time, but we never forget a crazy story. Let's say you have to remember 5 random words: elephant, pencil, pizza, moon, and car. Instead of just repeating them over and over, link them into a chaotic mini-narrative. Imagine an elephant holding a pencil, using it to draw a massive pizza, which then somehow flies all the way to the moon, and then the elephant drives back down to Earth in a car. It is completely ridiculous, and you might even be laughing right now, but I guarantee that absurd visualization is now permanently stuck in your head.
And finally, we arrive at technique number 6, the biological hack for sleep and exercise. Now, the skeptic in you might be asking, okay, but is there a foundational step to make all these life hacks actually work? And yes, there absolutely is. Because before you can use memory palaces or spaced repetition, you have to respect your biology. Harvard research shows that cramming all night and stealing hours from your sleep literally destroys your memory consolidation system. When you sleep, your brain is actively processing and securely storing the data you learned that day. Getting a full 8 hours of sleep results in a massive 40% higher memory retention rate compared to staying awake. Sleep isn't just a luxury, guys. It's literally when the actual learning happens.
And hey, it's not just sleep either. Taking just a brief 20-minute brisk walk before or after studying releases BDNF, that's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists actually refer to this stuff as a powerful fertilizer for your brain cells. Brief exercise literally creates new neural pathways. It cements this final realization we've been building towards. Memory is not a genetic trait you're simply born with. It is a highly strategic muscle, and sleep and exercise are exactly how you allow that muscle to recover and grow.
So we've covered spaced repetition, the memory palace, active recall, chunking, the story method, and those crucial biological hacks. But listening to this explainer, that's the easy part. The real challenge starts right now. I want you to pick just one of these techniques, whichever one stood out to you the absolute most today, and go apply it to your life. Test it out. Push your brain a little. You have the tools now to remember pretty much anything, so get out there and master your mind. So what are you waiting for? Which one are you going to try first?